Hi, everyone. Ashley May, Mike Beer here with Daily Racing Form, taking a look at one of the graded stakes races this Saturday at Monmouth Park. We're going to focus in on the Grade 3 Molly Pitcher. It's race number 10 on the program, which is going to kick off their late pick 5. And as we take a look at this field, it'll be interesting to see who opts for this spot. I do know there's a couple of horses, Mike, that are cross-entered, but at the mile and 16th distance, it's a pretty solid group of fillies and mares.
It really is. We'll see what the field looks like at post time because we do have some cross-entered horses. We got a bunch of horses with no rider named too, so I'm not sure if that's a great sign for them. But if this field stays even close to intact, this is a really well matched group.
We'll take a look at the time form US pace projection for this event, and it's going to be interesting. I mean, the 3 randomized, we see the same thing time and time again. She goes to the front, but I don't think Dorth Vader is going to be too far off of her. And then the real question will be if Leslie's Rose sticks in this spot, also entered in a spot at Saratoga. I don't think it'll be necessarily lightning quick, but I think it's going to be a pretty sensible, maybe a tad quick in terms of the early fractions.
Yeah, I mean the pace projector has randomized on the lead, and that's as it should be. She's one-way speed, and all of her good races have come when she's made the lead. Including a couple of major Grade 1 races. She's going to the front in here. We'll see if they can catch her.
We'll kick it off here with the number 1, Candide, who haven't seen since, I should say Preakness weekend. I almost said Black Eyed Susan weekend at Pimlico. In terms of her performance, she was able to win the Hilaire DuPont. She did it pretty impressively. Now, there were some scratches in there. I thought she got the trip that she needed. And those sort of fractions are sort of, what she needs to unfold in front of her. And I've doubted her throughout her career, I guess, Mike, in terms of how good she really is. But she has had some really good performances, especially at the Grade 1 level. So this Grade 3 should be right within her wheelhouse.
I agree. They did step back with her last time, and it was just you're right that she had a little pace to come after in there, but it was just also a great spot for her. She was just better than those horses, and she kept them within range, and she beat them easily. They're going to step her back up into this spot. It's only a Grade 3, but this race is tougher than a Grade 3, and we'll see if she can get the right trip in here and run her race. She's easy to make a case for, very logical, can easily win here if she gets the right trip.
Move on to the 2 here, which is one of the horses that don't have a rider name. This one trained by Chad Brown. We'll take a look at her most recent performance, which did come in the Lady Secret back on June 14th at Monmouth. And obviously, you can see it. It was a sloppy track. It was a mess. And, I think in terms of the performance that she puts in, it's a good one. I just think with the way the track was playing, they weren't going to get to the winner in here.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I mean, you can look at that race on paper and, she's 3-5 and she gets beaten this race. And so maybe it's a disappointing performance in that regard, but I just didn't really feel like she had any real chance. And I thought she actually ran on pretty well through the stretch of that race. So at least it was a step in the right direction. I didn't think her first start this year down at Keeneland, I didn't think she ran well that day. But I thought that last one was a step in the right direction.
The 3 randomized, the stablemate to the 2 in here, obviously has just been in Grade 1 waters as you go down the page, and 4 consecutive starts, 5 out of her last 6. And when she's good, she's very good. She can kind of compete at the top level. I know she's not necessarily winning all of those races, but she's been competitive. Last time out, I don't know how you assess it in terms of, where she finished. I just think she hated the track.
I agree. I mean, we'll talk about that race a little bit more as we go on because she's not the only one entered back in this race. There were just a bunch of horses in there who hated that track, and that includes randomized. Just give her a pass for that one. Her first start back from the layoff, they just sent her off to the lead in that race. That's her running style. It was a really tough field. I thought she ran fine in that race. She's a Phipps winner. She's an Alabama winner. She's really good on her best day. She's super dangerous when she makes the lead. And it feels like she's making the lead in here.
The 4 Majestic Oops we saw was the winner of the Lady Secret. This one for Dan Ward. And I have to give a lot of credit to his training job. It's had her really good form in her last 3. She's been able to take somewhat of a step forward in her numbers and consistently sort of hit at those high 80s, now low 90s. And I wonder, I know this is a huge step up in class, Mike, but I do wonder if there's something to be said about the trip that she could get in here where others might be far back. She could be in that sweet spot. And with those sort of numbers, I have no problem using her underneath.
I can see it. Yeah, she's in really good form. I'm not going to knock this horse. I'm with you on the trip part of it because it feels like she could just be sort of sitting up close. I mean, obviously, it's not going to be easy for her to take the race to randomized at some point, race her off, and then hold off the closers too. I mean, in some ways, that could be a bad spot to be in. But listen, she's in great form right now. She's probably going to be a price again in this race, so I'm not going to knock her.
The 5 Dorth Vader was the Grade 1 winner last time out. She's now 5 for 15 in her career. And we'll take a look at the Ogden Phipps. And She was the other horse. She was the horse that was able to handle this surface and really liked it. And we've seen that a couple of times. She's gotten some moisture in the ground and she's been okay, but this was a whole new level. And I just thought she got a beautiful ride here from Johnny V, was close to it and just ends up drawing off. So how do you assess this race and now where you think she's going to go off this effort?
Yeah, that's the main question. There's two things that I would say about her. First of all, she's just a good horse. She's been a good horse for a long time. So it's not like the Phipps came out of nowhere. But the thing is, as far as betting on Darth Vader goes, that's a different story, because last time would have been a great time to have her. She was a great price in there. She had a little bit of a trip in the La Troyenne in that race, so it just sort of made her even that much more interesting going into the Phipps. But then you go into the Phipps, the track's a mess. Basically, every one of her main rivals in there totally hated it and didn't run at all. And the other main rival, Raging Sea, got totally eliminated at the start of the race and wound up 20 lengths out of it. And so she just had everything go her way that day. And oh, by the way, you really couldn't make up any ground on that track. So she just sat right up close to an overmatched horse and won. To me, I would just never bet her back in this race because she's facing way better horses in here. And you just can't really handicap this race to think she's going to get as lucky as she did last time. Not that she isn't a good horse, because she is.
The 6 for Gald, and now in the barn of Whitworth Beckman. And in terms of her body of work, her last 3 are arguably some of her best races in terms of the figures she was able to get, especially in her last 2. She was 3rd in the Allaire DuPont, but I have some reservations about her. She's going to be far back. If you looked at the Timeform US pace projection, I didn't mention it. She's far back and she has the LP flag attached to her. And I'm not saying that they're going to go slow or necessarily that quick, but she's really going to need to step up.
Yeah, I just think she's overmatched in here. The running style does not help her. I didn't notice that she had the LP flag, but she's not the best closer in this race either. So I just don't really think she has much of a chance.
And then the 7 and Leslie's Rose up next. This one for Todd Pletcher. Obviously had issues in the Ogden Phipps. We talked about it. The track was a mess. And prior to that, I thought her return to the races was good. I obviously liked her in the Ogden Phipps, and we saw what happened there. So I didn't know how to assess her here. Obviously, we have to, first figure out if she's going to come here, if she's going to stay in New York. But at her best, she's another one. It's kind of a similar story. At their best, they can be extremely competitive against this group.
Yeah, I feel like we feel the same way about her. I thought her return sprinting there was a sort of an underrated effort, probably a prep. And then I, too, liked her in the Phipps last time. Just she hated that track and never really lifted her feet. That's the second time she's caught a really sloppy track. They're the 2 worst performances of her career by far. If she gets fast dirt, she's a really, really good horse. She's super tactical too. She can get a really good trip in this race, sitting in behind Randomized. And I think she's as talented, at least as talented as that horse. So we'll see. I feel like she's probably going to run Friday at Saratoga, but if she runs here, I like her.
The 8 Power Squeeze, this one for Jorge Delgado, was 3rd last time out in the Serena Song, was favored in there. And she's another one. I mean, she has put in some big performances. They're sprinkled throughout there. Obviously won the Grade 1 Alabama last year as a 3-year-old, was the runner-up in the Go Zapper behind White Abario. And then we mentioned it, 3rd in the Serena Song. She went off favored. I don't know. Did you feel like she had an excuse for finishing 3rd?
Not really. But she's the kind of horse who could be compromised in races like that. It's only a 4-horse field. So they have to take her back to last in there. I don't know. She ran fine. She probably could have won and just didn't get by at the end, but she ran fine in that race. And as you pointed out, she was a really good 3-year-old, a really underrated 3-year-old. And then for whatever reason, her connections went crazy this year and ran her in the Pegasus World Cup and the Go Zapper. She had no business being in those races. This is a way better spot.
And then the 9 Chilled is going to round out the field, the 4-year-old daughter of Frosted in the Vicky Oliver barn. Now, she's won technically 2 of her last 3, but I just mean cross the wire in first. She was disqualified in the 1 race. And, in terms of what she's been able to do, I have no knocks on her. They've been good efforts. I like the tactical trip. I think the outside probably works out wonderful for here, but this is just a big step up.
Yeah, got to prove it against stakes horses now. She's in good form, so they'll step it up and try it. I mean, you might as well do it while she's in good form, but this is not. Sometimes these Grade 3 races in particular, they don't come up that strong. Unfortunately for her, this one came up really strong.
Well, it has to do with the $500,000 purse here on the Grade 3 Molly Pitcher. We'll move to our top selections here. It was an interesting field of 9. I think there's a lot of directions to go. And before we even move to Darth Vader, because we already heard your comments, Mike, we will start with you in the 7 Leslie's Rose. If she opts for this spot, she could be intriguing. You have to forgive her last out.
Yeah, I like the spot for her. I like the spot for her at Saratoga Friday too. We'll see where they went. I don't know. I haven't seen any comments from Pletcher. I don't know if he's going to run her here. If he does run her here, I like her in this spot. And if she scratches, I'll be happy to scratch into randomized too. I just think it's going to be really tough on the lead in here.
Yeah, and I tried to beat randomized in here. I just think the price
Yeah.
is going to be pretty crappy, to say that nonetheless. I just don't find value in her. And I know she is good enough to win this field and could win it by a lot, but I do have a couple of reservations about her. I go to Dorth Vader. I know you mentioned you won it better back off the last out effort. She ran her race, right? And she got the perfect setup. I just go down the past performances. I've always been a fan of hers. I think she's been in some tough spots. I don't think she's gotten the perfect rides in some of them, and think maybe she could sit up here. But I will say, if she's an extremely short price, the appeal in Dorth Vader going back to back won't be there. So I'll have to see how they bet the Molly pitcher. But 7-3-1-2 for Bike, 5-4-3-1 for me. It's race number 10 of 14 at Monmouth on Saturday. Best of luck.